right? Okay, see, double jeopardy concept, I think, to my knowledge, it is for criminal law. Basically, what it means is that for the same crime, you should not be punished twice. So whether it's a theft or a murder or whatever it might be, So if a thief is convicted and sent to jail for whatever, 3 years, 7 years, 4 years, I don't know, you cannot sentence him, once again, or you can't just double his sentence. So that's, and it's this terminology, I think it has come from United States. I don't think it is from UK or, but of course it's English language, so it is common, known everywhere. And I think in Indian Constitution also there is some provision, article, I don't remember the article number, that is a different point, but which has the same point, I think, that, a person cannot be incriminated or punished. It's somewhere there in the law. I can't recall exactly right now. Now, coming to the point, if DV and 125, see, one thing is very clear that you have to understand, few simple things. Like 125 has a very limited, if you see, it's only about maintenance. If you read the Bare Act, it starts with, maintenance to wives and children. And the initial line is that if a husband is negligent, so negligence is kind of, and if he has sufficient means to provide maintenance and still he, is not providing maintenance to the wife and children who are dependent on him, who do not have their own source of income. So CRPC 125 has a very, very clear-cut scope. It's about maintenance. If you read the Domestic Violence Act, Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act, I have covered in my book also in quite good detail on all the Bare Act. It has multiple sections. I think it runs up to 31, 32, I remember, and maybe up to 36 sections it goes on. And there are sections for maintenance, for compensation, for, first initially it defines what's the respondent, section 2, and what is domestic violence, what different types of domestic violence. So it has been designed as a comprehensive legislation that any woman who has any kind of issue in her inside a home, be it financial or any other issue, she should be allowed to complain formally in the court. So the scope is much, much wider. That itself should give you the idea that when the two laws are not having the same text. So first of all, it's a different law, and then it has a much wider scope. So double jeopardy will not be applicable because double jeopardy is for criminal law, and here we are talking about maintenance. It is not like somebody sending you to jail. Right now, some people will say, no, there is a provision under CRPC 125 that if a husband doesn't pay maintenance for, then he is liable for jail, and there are, of course, provision is there, but you have to, that is why I think I have covered in my book also that if there are in several judgments, it has been mentioned that CRPC 125 is a quasi-civil, quasi-criminal, in the sense that it's part of CRPC, which is Code for Criminal Procedure, but at the same time, it is meant for civil relief. The main relief is to give maintenance to the wife. It is not that if a husband has not paid maintenance, you send him to jail. That is not the main intention. The main intention is that he should give maintenance. If he does not give, even after restitution and all the other things, so that is that. And other point is, okay, what if there is a DV case or 125 case? Same allegations are there in IPC 498A also. Now there, I think again the same point remains that 498A etc. is criminal law. So let me just check the legal definition of double jeopardy once again. See, it's very clear. Okay, it's there in the Fifth Amendment to the US Constitution. You cannot be prosecuted twice for substantially the same crime. So let me just copy and paste this here, and let's hope we get something. Okay, so the font will be very small. I don't know if it's all of it is visible because the slides sizes. So can everybody read this on the screen?
Yes, sir, it is readable.
Okay, good. So
Yeah,
I hope you can read
yes,
till
sir.
the end. So basically you cannot be prosecuted twice. So if it's an IP 498A and the trial has ended, you have been punished, or let us say you were acquitted. Then again, somebody, another court says, no, I will start this IPC 498 once again. And you were acquitted earlier, now you are convicted. So once the trial has ended and there is no appeal against it, it is finished. You cannot be again, the same case is reopened because already you have been, everything is over, cross-examination, evidence, arguments. So the case cannot be reopened once again. So I think the double jeopardy meaning, if you look at from the US Constitution, it is more like you cannot be prosecuted twice for substantially the same crime. So I hope that should make it somewhat, reasonably clear. Let me just duplicate this slide so that we can reuse this for the next question also. Okay, I think next question. Yeah, whoever is there in the queue, you can say your question. So I will not say the name. I think there is only one person with raised hand now.
It's in the chat. There is in the chat
okay.
2 questions.
Chat, okay. Okay, let me see the chat. Okay. Okay. Wife filing a DV 498 case jeopardize GWC. Let me make it GWC. Or each case will run differently on its own merit. Does the sequence in which cases are filed matter? Okay, so very simple, concept of law is that every case will run on its own evidence and its own merits. I have read about it long time back in one of these, I'm not sure whether it's part of Indian Evidence Act or, but it's a very base concept of law that, so the DV case will run. So for example, let me just give an example. Let us say your 498A, FIR and DV case, there's exact copy. The same allegations are copy pasted and they are, word to word same. However, in the evidence stage, something is submitted in one case which is not submitted in the 498A. So DV has a different evidence and 498 has different evidence. So the DV case will run based on the evidence is filed in the DV case. What you can do is that sometimes, if one case you have some cross-examination which has gone in your favor, or there is some evidence which you feel the certified copy, you take it and you want to use it in another case. So anything which is certified copy or a judicial document, you can definitely use it in the other case. So for example, let us say in DV case, there was an allegation that I was thrown out of the house on night of whatever, 26 September. During the cross-examination, the wife was put this question that based on maybe some evidence or call record or WhatsApp, it could be anything. And she felt that her lie will be caught because it was a lie, she told. And she says, no, it is untrue. I was not thrown out, whatever, she changed her stance. Now you have the cross-examination certified copy. You can use that and use it in the 498 case. So you can cross-examination again, in the other case that in the DV case you mentioned this, and your cross-examination is this point is already there. So there is no way she can go against that because it's a written document. It's recorded by the court, and she is already on the record that she has kind of gone back on her allegation. So So I think the fundamental thing is that, yes, let me just, each case, one can, so you can use the documents and records. That is definitely possible. Sequence in which cases are filed matter. It can matter, definitely. See, I will give you a very simple point. Basically, how it works is, one common thing what happens is husband files divorce. Okay. Wife files 490-day or let's say DV case after long separation already. So in this case, husband can argue in the court that she was already living apart from me for last 6-7 months or 1 year or 2 years. All this while she did not file a 490-day case or a DV case. Now suddenly she has filed a 490-day case, and it's a afterthought or a reaction or a retaliation to my divorce case. That argument can fly, but one thing you have to remember is that people should not feel like overconfident or overjoyed that just by making this argument, I will win all my cases. See, you have to have the patience to let the trial run through for whatever number of years it goes through. That is the whole point. It is not that simply if you file divorce and she files 490 days, and then you sit at home and then everything will get taken care of. Nothing of that kind. You have to submit, evidences. Your petition should be well drafted. And in fact, in case she files 490 days after your divorce, you should amend your. In fact, that will become your evidence actually. In some cases, you may need to amend your petition because there was a recent Supreme Court judgment, which is unfortunate, but maybe that's how the law works, because the wife filed 490 days after the husband's divorce, and he got divorced by High Court, I think, of Telangana, but Supreme Court rejected because in his petition, the 490 days was not mentioned. At that time, the wife had not filed 490 days. So based on that technicality, he lost his divorce. Otherwise, they were convinced by his logic that yes, cruelty, we could have thought that yes, cruelty would have happened on you, but your pleadings were incomplete. So I think this is a point which people should be aware of, because unfortunately, people are not spending enough time on these things. And so I think that judgment came just, I think, 1 or 1.5 years back by the Supreme Court. So in those kind of scenarios, I think sequence can matter. Now, GWC sequence, I think I would suggest do very simple logic. See, you don't need to worry about the law. If you know for a fact that your wife is doing something in retaliation, or if you know that she is doing illegal terrorism, then you can mention that in your petition, or whether it's a GWC case or if you have submitting objections, you can mention all those points that, this case she has filed, it's in retaliation to my genuine case. So that much is very much possible. So you do not need to think very legally, because see, when somebody is doing a psychological reaction to your action, it is not a matter of law, it's a matter of fact. And some element of subjectivity also. One person may say that, no, she did it naturally. Another person may say, no, it was a reaction, it was a counter attack on you, or a retaliation to teach you a lesson. Now, that is, perception can matter, but what is your perception? That's most important. In the court of law, unless and until you express what you're feeling, nobody else is going to come and say that, I can share his pain. See, unless and until you feel the pain, how can somebody else say that, because family matters are very, very considered to be subjective. In fact, there are in my divorce book, there is one judgment also where it clearly says that what goes on, between husband and wife, depends on the context. They may be in some husband and wife may be using very loose language with each other, like in the sense that they may be very informal. Some people may be very respectful. So when two people are very respectful to each other, and suddenly there's a change of language from to disrespectful words. Now that's you can say maybe there's an element of cruelty. But if there are two people who are always very bindas and talking like, I mean, maybe a street kind of language, then you cannot say that suddenly one day, oh, I feel, after 5 years of marriage, now why is he talking to me like that? Or why is my husband using this word? Because it was being used for all these years and you were very happy with it. So families have to have that context also. It depends on your social status, it depends on your communication and all those things. So first you have to apply common sense. No need to become a legal and start thinking based on this one incident itself, I will get my divorce and I will will my phone integrate. Things don't happen unless and until there are some very clear-cut things like some very serious allegation or adultery. Adultery is one thing where you don't need repeated kind of offense. Even if there is one offense, you have good proof. You have a good ground for divorce. But cruelty is not like that. Cruelty has to be over a period of time. Just one incident like that movie in Jeopardy, like what I've not seen the movie, but so husband for file, made a thapad to wife or wife slapped husband. See, one slap to husband or wife, I don't think it will constitute cruelty, because somebody can always apologize and they can say that, please forgive my mistake. I won't do it again. Then what will you say? That no, I will not forgive you. I want divorce. So that I don't think is, you can read divorce judgments. I think if you read my divorce book, it will be very, very clear. Cruelty is not a one-time incident. Okay. Let me say question number 2, and this one was, okay, that's the actual template. Question number 1. Duplicate. Okay. So let me see the chat. And in fact, just to come back to question number 2, see, in fact, if your GWC is being filed after 498A and DV, you can put that point in your GWC that because see, already you will be mentioning things that she was irresponsible, she is not a good wife. I'm assuming those things will be there. I'm assuming these are false allegations. So you can say that she is irresponsible, and such a mother who files false cases on husband, she will not be a good role model for the child also, because upbringing of a child is not just about food, education, shelter. These are the physical things. It's also about moral and educational upbringing. So that's very much clear in multiple judgments of High Court and Supreme Court, that the environment of the child and the moral upbringing is very much part of the welfare of child. So you can always raise the point that a person, a wife who is filing false cases on husband and making random allegations, she will not be a good role model of the child. So you can use that point in your GWC case, definitely. Okay. Okay, I have increased the phone. I hope it's visible. The wife is in contempt of consent terms. That happens. It's not a very unusual thing. We have made an application against it in family court. The written arguments are over. The judge is not passing an order. Well, see, this is very much a part of procedural law, and sometimes the orders are delayed for a few months. 6 months is also, although this doesn't look like a very complicated thing, because it's a violation of consent terms. So I guess the point of law should not be very complicated here. It should not take 6 months to, well, that's just my opinion. I guess you have to check with your advocate. Maybe you need to go for in the High Court and get a direction to give an order, or you can be patient and wait for a few more months, because I guess the problem with these kind of things is that if some of the terms have been, abided with. See, one problem with MCD, mutual consent divorce, is always there, that it has a provision of, any spouse can go back on the first motion, basically, they can say. But then you have to be very clear that, if you do not want to give divorce, then if already you're living separate for last 3, 4, 5 years, and then again, after 2, 3 years, nobody makes an effort to come back. So the person who is withdrawing from the consent term, unless they show some genuine effort to reconcile or come back or reunite with the spouse, then it will be a dishonest, most likely. But we have to look at the full circumstances and facts of the case, because many a time what happens is, husband has handed over the property to the wife, and then, once she got the property, she says, okay, I got what I wanted. Now I want a husband for the rest of my life, because that's a status symbol or whatever it might be. Property I already have, so no, I am withdrawing from my NCD. Many cases, 5 lakh, 10 lakh, 15, whatever that amount, one installment has been taken, or, some husbands, they are very overconfident. They give the 80% of 100% of the amount upfront. I mean, at least anybody who comes to me, I never advise that. You should give very, very small amount initially, maybe not more than 20% in the first installment, at the first motion. So how to get a judgment? I think maybe you can approach High Court, check with your advocate, or be patient, maybe file a memo in the same court that as a reminder. But generally, a judgment is not something where you have much say, actually, because all the arguments are over. It's not in your hands of the parties, basically. So it's pretty much on the judge. And even in one of my consumer court cases, which are supposedly not very complicated, I used to think consumer courts are very fast because of my past experience. One of my order was kept pending for almost more than 2 years, and so, and I went there, I followed up, and still it was pending. So these things, I don't know. There is no timeline, unfortunately. So I think my point would be, maybe you can approach. I think that would be my advice on this one. Okay. Next question. I guess chat box is over, and do we have any hands? No. So should we go to the DV cross-examination? Okay, one more question. Oh, there is one more question before that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 questions in one. Okay, let's see. Let me know. Okay, point number 1. What's involvement of husband and his family members with police if falls 498A, I believe. So not 498. Or DB case filed by wife. If police calling and asking family members to visit, what should they reply on call? See, I think this point I have covered very clearly read my article on menrightsindia.net about CAW cell procedure. And there is one judgment covered on man-to-man solutions also. my content is there in various places, but mostly it's there on Men Rights India. Some judgments are covered on Man to Man, and there are YouTube videos also. Not many of them, maybe 6, 7, 8, maybe less than 10 videos. So go through them, do that little bit of homework, because otherwise, these are very basic questions. So, but anyway, I will repeat it because it's a very common point. So my point is very, very clear. See, in India, a lot of things which happen is not just based on CRPC and Police Act and these laws. There are certain traditions being followed. So, by the strictly speaking, by the law, you did not go to the police station if somebody calls you from there. But practically speaking, many people will go, and many people will say that what's the harm? Because maybe it's just a family matter. So before you go there, you have absolutely no idea what kind of allegation your wife may have said about you. It could be a simple matter, maybe the police. Generally, what I have observed is that in Mumbai, the police is kind of, many a time the police will call both the parties and they will ask them to, if you are not happy with each other, or whoever has filed it, mostly it's the wife who has filed a complaint, they will take some undertaking on paper that, from both the sides, what do you want? Okay, I don't want to stay with the husband. Fine, you write on the paper. And husband, they will say, see, she doesn't want to stay with you. So what can you do? You can go to the court if you want to. So that is what happens. But in Delhi and many other places, there is a different kind of this thing. CW cells are, kind of more, not very, I would say, easy going on the husband, to put it mildly. So, and I have even heard, even recently, I heard that, one person who went there, he was asked to sign, one of the points which he did not want to sign. So he did not sign. So don't be under any pressure that, just because you are in the police station, they are asking you to sign something and you don't want to sign it. Don't sign it then. This much common sense you have to develop, because if you people start signing and then later on you say, oh, now I'm under pressure, people are telling me I will lose the case. Actually, one thing is very simple. In Indian law, even a confession made to the police has absolutely no evidentiary value. That's very much, it's not like American law. Under American law, they will make sure confession made to police. Of course, they may have some safeguard. They will have some video recording or something. It is admissible as evidence in the court, but not under Indian law. Even if you have signed something under pressure, file a complaint to Human Rights Commission after that. So you can write that, I was under pressure and I was made to sign this thing. But don't wait for 1 year that I have signed it, now I will, no problem. Mr. Vivek said that you can file a complaint, but right now I'm not in the mood of filing complaint. Because everything you have to do logically. If you wait for too much time, then what's the point of, who will appreciate your, so for husbands, it's very clear. See, all these privileges are for women only. They can file a 490 day after 2 years. But as a husband, if you have any complaint, do not wait too much. Of course, it depends on case to case. Divorce case you can file after a delay, not a big issue. But there is a criminal case against, somebody has threatened you on the phone. People say that, my in-laws called, somebody called up, they threatened me. Okay, when was it? 2 months back. So who will listen to you now? Okay, so I think police calling and all, you can go, but if you are fearful, then you can ask for notice, written notice. And if there is an FIR, then they have to send CRPC 41 notice. CRPC 41, everyone should read the article on Men Rights India or Google search. If you don't read it, then I think you are the loser, because all the information is there and it's for your own benefit. And law is for those, who want to understand the law. So it is not like people spend time on, tax planning, this, that. That is also part of the law, You want to save your income tax, so you will read, okay, where can I put my investment? People put so much effort into all that, right? So same thing here. You can, spend some time and effort. It's all there on, if you do a Google search or go to Men Rights India, all stuff is available there. False 490 day or impact on private job career, not much. It's a very, over 490 day is a very common thing. So all the big corporates, Wipro, Infosys, multinationals, it's very common. They have like, so in fact, my suggestion is if you are fearing a case, already, your wife is living separately, there are some threats coming in, you can inform your HR. Be upfront about it. Tell your manager. So my suggestion would be tell your manager first, and after that you tell your HR, because HR generally I will not be very consider them to be very reliable. But your manager will be the first person who will support you. I'm assuming that your performance is good, because so the corporates care about performance. If your performance is good, nobody will give a damn. If your performance is going down, well, then I think that's your bigger problem. So not the 490 a day, but because private companies may not, keep a person for too long if your performance is down for 6 months or 1 year. That should be the only thing we should worry about. Mutual consent not happen. What's the normal time taken? 5 to 7 years, I would say. Smaller cities, maybe not the metro cities, maybe 4 years, 3 years if you're lucky. And the best way to end the case quickly is you fight hard. File defamation if you can. File perjury if there's a chance. Unfortunately, the way our courts work, you get those chances much later in the trial. It doesn't happen very immediately. But if you get the chance, defamation, your wife is saying he's impotent, on publicly. File defamation. Why do you want to wait for 5-10 years? 490 day will be over, and but unfortunately people are not understand the law, so they don't file. So unless and until people do, I won't be able to tell what will be the result. CW asking for discussion, firmly decided. Yeah, you can deny. See, you file the divorce, or even if you have not filed, you don't want to go to CW cell, don't go. Who's asking you? Nobody will arrest you. And if they want to arrest you, they will file FIR and they will arrest you. Right? But it's not that easy, because 490-day arrest is not happening. So they will have to try some new tricks. And even then, it's not that easy. So don't worry about arrest and all that. Should one get afraid of false cases? No. If you are here, if we were afraid of false cases, then I won't be having this discussion. So obviously, don't be afraid. Be bindas and live your life. Okay, next question, number 5. Okay. Okay, I hope everyone can read this. Can DBC cases be filed without CW or FIR? Yes, very much. What would be the prima facie evidence? See, unfortunately, to file a DB case in court, you just need to file a petition. That's all a wife needs. And she has to make allegations which are not very difficult to make. The evidence stage comes much later, which is unfortunate because, my whole point is if the trial should end within 6 months or 1 year or even 2 years. Let us say every DB case or every family court case will end maximum 2 years. A lot of problems can be solved. But right now, the whole point is you get some interim maintenance and don't come for evidence, or interim maintenance will go on for 2 years. So that's the whole issue. Nobody can file a perjury without affidavit being on the record. So prima facie evidence not required. Most of the time, I have seen that 99% cases there is absolutely no documentary evidence. In some cases, rarely, some women they have MLC. In one case, I was guiding. The MLC also was it was not an MLC actually. It was some fake certificate, but the doctor didn't come in the cross-examination, so it was discarded basically. So don't worry even if there is a fake MLC, because until the doctor is comes to verify the document in the court, that document will not have much value, because document can be created forced or fictitious or whatever it might be, unless and until the person is put to the cross-examination. So I think this is not a very difficult question. Yes, the case can be filed without CWCL or FIR, definitely. Okay. I don't see any other message in the chat box. Let me see any raised hands. No one right now. let me open this article in mentorindia.net. I will share the link. Okay. So this is the link. I think I will put it in the end. So the resources and references. Maybe I will create a PDF of this file and share it later in the group, so people can refer to this file for a quick summary. Of course, the video will have the complete stuff. Where were we? Let me go back to meeting. Okay, so I guess chat box questions are over. In case somebody has, you can raise hands. Otherwise, we will go to the cross-examination techniques in DB cases. So I guess. So I guess like, I hope everybody has read this article. Let me share the screen. I guess we have to increase the font size. And let me reduce the, yeah, now it should be visible very easily. Okay, I'm sharing another screen, cross-examination of wife in maintenance cases. I hope everybody can see this and it's readable. I have increased the font size, so hopefully. So, see, basically, yeah, I think, so this is about the educational qualification. So I guess a lot of people have the problem that my wife is qualified, but she is not working, right? Or so how do I bring about, her educational qualification? So sometimes you may have a documentation, you may have her degree, sometimes you may not have. So cross-examination can be a very good way to get those details out. So ask very to the point and specific questions. You can say whatever you're already aware. So if you know that she has done MCA, so you can say that, have you finished your MCA? So she will say yes, because if she says no, and you have the proof that she has done MCA, then it will be fuzzy, because with the cross-examination certified copy, you can, say that she is telling a lie to the court. And furthermore, you can ask this question about, college, institution, and all these things. So these are all the details, depending on your case, her qualification, how many, especially if she has worked before marriage. So you can ask those points that who left work. So that was in fact my next section in this, this thing, that, they will leave the work. So you can confirm, what was your salary when you were working in this so-and-so company, right? Previous company. And for how many years did you work? So all these points have to be on the record, because see, one thing what we have to remember is that when you give your evidence, and you say that my wife has worked for 5 years before marriage, and she was working even at the time of marriage, and after marriage she stopped work. I never stopped her from working, but she has stopped, and she is not even trying to find any work after that. So how do you prove that she was working for 5 years? Because one may not have the documentation, ready-made. You may not have a relieving paper. You may not have, salary slips all the time. Now, one thing which will change in the future is that because of Rajneesh versus Neha judgment, if the wife asks for interim maintenance, she will also have to give her income, assets, bank statement, ITR. Some of these details will come out of that. So you may already have some working data, before you do your cross-examination. So for people whose wife are working or they were working, before they filed cases, Rajneesh versus Neha judgment might be useful. That's what I feel. For people whose wife was never working, always a housewife, it may not be very useful for them because she doesn't have much data to share anyway. She can simply say, as a housewife, before marriage I was not working, and after marriage, well, my husband forced me not to work. So one point also we have to remember is that make sure that she was never stopped from working by husband. Or let me say that wife was never stopped from working. So I think this should be one important point, because, and that is the reason, if you go to the first point of the article, see, basically, generally, what is the problem in DV allegation or any kind of allegation? The wife will say that I was not allowed to talk to my parents. I was locked in the bathroom. That used to be a common allegation. I was thrown out in the middle of the night. Or many times people say that she came to my house on that day, but once the FIR was filed, there were so many allegations that I was beaten. My husband's brother also beat me, and my suitcase was thrown out on the street, and my brother came and picked me up. So basically, that whole Abala Nari picture that they want to portray that I'm a totally helpless person. I'm a female. I don't know anything. I don't know who to ask for help. So you have to establish, to basically make a non-Abala Nari status. So this is also part of the same thing. So if you read my article here, the whole point what we are trying to ask is, if she was going to the college, she was going in a bus, or she was living in a hostel independently outside her home for so many years. So how can such a woman be so dependent on somebody else that she can't even make a phone call, right? I mean, the kind of cases which we get, the kind of allegations they are making, it's very hard to imagine that they won't call a 100 police number when somebody is beating them, because on the one hand their FIR and DV case, it is like so well drafted. I mean, when I say well drafted, I mean the allegations are so gory, I mean so wild. So there is absolutely no kind of they say that I was hesitant, I was wanted to save my marriage, so all that drama of that I was so trying to give some more time to my husband, that he will change his ways. So there is certain words, they are certain sentences which are repeated in every DV petition. I have read so many of them. It's a very kind of, I mean, both for males and females, but males don't have much option. They can only file a divorce case. And they generally don't mention these kind of, excuses that I gave her, more and more time. But that's a very common thing in women's cases, that they will say, yeah, I was tortured and I was, all these things were happening, dowry harassment. But I was like a, Indian woman or Hindu wife. I was, hoping that my husband will become better one day. Those of maybe 1950s and 60s movies, Hindi film. that kind of drama. So you have to establish that, she's a 21st century woman. She's not a 21st century urban, outgoing extrovert, assuming it's applicable. I mean, I'm not saying that somebody is an introvert and you forcibly make them an extrovert. So these are the broad guidelines, I guess. And if I go further, right. So one very important thing is, what I find is that I think our courts have also not taken much cognizance of this point, but the main reason I feel is also because the husbands themselves have not brought this point in the open. See, one very simple thing is like this. Many a time the wife petition will say that I am not working. She has not alleged that she was stopped from working. See, if somebody says that my husband and his parents or whatever, they do not want me to work. Now, they may be proof, there may not be any proof. If there is no proof and you never asked her to do that, in fact, you were encouraging her, then you have to be very, very vocal about it, because that is the whole crux of the whole matter. If you are, asking your wife to attend interviews and go to jobs, and many people have told me that, they themselves help the wife to, they arranged the interviews, they, filled up her forms or whatever was required. And she went for the interview, but she failed it deliberately or whatever, for whatever reason she was not interested. Or sometimes people say that she got the job, but within 2 months she left the job. Because she can't adjust with anybody. She, if you're working in a company, your boss or colleagues or whoever it might be, you have to, work with them. People may be reasonable or unreasonable, but you cannot just feel that, it's like my home. It's not your home. It's a professional place. So some women, I think they are not able to adjust at all. They simply want to, they behave as if, just like I can order around my husband, maybe I can order everybody else around here. That doesn't work like that. Right. So you have to bring those points that, did she try at all? So you should bring this point in the open that she didn't even try to get a job for the last 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. And especially for women who don't have children. I hope this point number 5 is visible. Without children, because she does not have to raise a child. See, if a small kid is there in the family, then it will be very ready-made, reason that my kid is 6 months, 1 year, 2 years old. The child needs me. So I cannot do a full-time job or whatever, right? But if you don't have a child, right? So your wife is highly qualified, especially if she was working before marriage, and you never stopped her. So sometimes what happens is, you after marriage you change cities. In fact, I did one survey on Enrich India broadcast group. So I think 71% people said their cases are in different cities. So whatever, 70-75%, approximately. So it's very clear that a lot of, it's a common thing in India that people are marrying across cities, right? So in that case, the woman would say that, because I married, I had to leave my job. But then you have to bring the point very clearly that I never said that, in case that is your intention, that before marriage also you never asked her to leave her job after marriage. You have to bring that point very strongly. So your cross-examination question should be based like that. So I think these few points, if you take care of, you can cover most of the points. And apart from that, I think I mean, you can read this article. I think there are many points. I have not written on these things like 490 a day, and frankly, I mean, most people get acquitted even without. So, I mean, I think generally what I feel is that by that time the cases are over or settled. So, most 490 a day don't even go for a full trial. So, if you have specific questions on cross-examination, people can say, and let me see if I'll try to answer them. Or you can put in the chat box if you want. Let me see the chat box. Okay, good question. Is only lawyer allowed to cross? Not true, but let's come to the Okay, let me make it question number 5. See, basically, if you have a lawyer, then cross-examination generally, what I have observed, and it is true also in my experience also, it is one of the most crucial parts of the whole trial, especially maybe matrimonial cases. Be it 490 day, 490 day, it's even more important because it's a criminal trial. So you need some lawyer with experience of criminal law who has the confidence to be able to handle public prosecutor, and if there is any question from the judge, he should have the confidence that he or she that they should be able to answer it, because I have observed how advocates talk in the so criminal law is the criminal code itself is much more serious. Family code and DD courts, if you go matrimonial cases, I'm saying sometimes you will feel that there is too much drama happening, there is tu meh, cross talking among the parties. But for 90 days, you go and sit in a criminal trial, any kind of trial, and you will observe, it's a very somber environment, and things have to proceed in a very methodical manner. So I would suggest that 498 day cross. I know one person who did it himself. I mean, he had lawyers earlier, but he was not satisfied, and in fact, I observed him also. He was doing the cross of his wife, and later on, he said that he was able to do it successfully. And I have no doubt, because I observed him for like 5 minutes. So it's very much possible, and it's not that the court will stop you from doing it. You can do it, and even in family court, I have observed that once one husband was doing cross exam of his wife. He was able to do it. The judge also, there was no problem, nowhere. So the only issue is if you already have a lawyer, and then if you say that, let my lawyer ask 5 questions, and I will ask these 3 other questions. I think that may be a problem. Somewhere in Civil Procedure Code, I think it is written that even a party can argue. Now, argument and cross, whether it's the same thing, I'm not very sure. So if you want to go into that depth, maybe you can check with some lawyer, or if you can't find any answers, maybe ask on lawreto or kanoon.com that whether you can ask questions, cross-examination yourself along with your lawyer also, is it allowed? Practically, I have not seen it myself, so I cannot answer it from my experience. It may be possible, but I think to be able to answer it, one has to go through the the CRPC or CPC. So if it's a CRPC 125 or DB Act, otherwise you have to read the Civil Procedure Code. So that would be my answer. Okay, anything else?